Welcome to the Predictable Revenue Podcast, where sales leaders teach you what's working for them and how you can build it yourself.
This episode of the Predictable Revenue Podcast is brought to you by our sales coaching and consulting services. Are you looking to create repeatable, scalable, and predictable revenue? We've helped thousands of companies grow their business with tailored expert advice backed by testing to ensure they establish the best practices that'll work for them. Head over to bit.ly/predictable revenue coaching to learn more. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Predictable Revenue Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about one of those just banes of salespeople's existence. There is nothing worse in the world than going through all the effort of prospecting. You're calling, you're emailing, you're working, you're backside off to try to get in touch with these prospects. You finally book a meeting, amazing. And then you do some sort of sloppy booking in the meeting. You send them an email with some times. You kind of figure out a time for them to arrive at that meeting, and then they just don't come. The no-show is the absolute worst part of being a prospector, a closer, whatever that is. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm your host, Sarah Hicks. And today on the Predictable Revenue Podcast, I'm going to be chatting with an expert about how optimizing your booking process will increase your show rate. So she's the founder of Success by Design and host of the My Designed Life show, featured on FM radio, UI Media Network, online platforms, and through Binge Networks TV. With over 18 years of experience in global marketing, business development, and planning strategy from Fortune 500 companies to $1 million startups, she leads courses, workshops, and retreats to create a business and life that you love. Her signature program, Success Schedule, has taught hundreds of people in over 20 countries and 6 continents how to drop the hustle and live in joy while creating time for all their have-tos, want-tos, and wish-tos. Tanya MFK, welcome to the Predictable Revenue Podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Me too. Okay, so talk to me about first the biggest mistakes that you see salespeople or whoever's booking meetings making with their process.
Yeah, well, I think the first and biggest mistake is that they think that once they got the yes, I'm ready to book, that's it. And then they, like you said so perfectly, the word was sloppy. They kind of sloppily throw over a link, or they start sending options like, here's 5 times that are available. What would work best for you? And they put the whole set of responsibility on figuring out the time in the process to the prospect. And once you start that journey, you actually have a huge opportunity to not even get them booked, let alone the no-show. And so I think the biggest mistake is thinking that once they've said yes, or they've shown any interest in saying yes, that's it, and not paying attention to the details and nuances of how you present that next stage. It is essentially its own phase. And I think that's the biggest mistake I see over and over.
Okay, cool. And we're definitely going to dive into how to do this all properly in just a minute. But what about kind of the impact that you see when these mistakes are happening, when there's, the sloppy, the meeting link send, or the tons of times send? What does that kind of do to the sales process or to the relationship?
Oh, yeah. Well, first, especially when we start throwing out when's best for you, then we start dragging out the amount of emails that go back and forth. We tend to you see a lot of frustration that they won't express to you about trying to figure it out. You don't know how organized or disorganized they are. And now you're asking them to figure out what's best for them, what works. You're creating too much space for what ifs. You're creating delays. Now they're not sure. Now, do they have to walk the dog that time? Did they have a vet appointment? Do they need to talk to so-and-so? And now you're getting not only perhaps not booking, but you're getting a ghost all of a sudden. Someone's not even getting back to you, and you don't know why. And a lot of it is just that we're putting it onto them. So that is a huge problem that's happening when you're doing that. You're dragging out the entire process. And many times what you see is people end up not booking. They end up not booking at all. So that's, I would say, the hugest issue, because we're talking about no-shows. We want to make sure people are showing up. But if we can't even get them to get down on it, we have an issue there. The other problem is maybe we're not giving a ton of options and saying what's best for you, but we're just haphazardly throwing a link and thinking that that's enough. The thing is that it's not a yes until they actually show up. A lot of times, yes is even when they book, but it's not a yes until they show up. And when I say yes, I just mean a yes to the demo, a yes to the call. They haven't said yes till they're actually there on the call. So taking the idea that yeah, right, I got them booked, they're in, as soon as they've mentioned an inkling of wanting or interest, That's the mistake. That's what we put is actually the potential of losing that prospect. That's the biggest issue with that and what happens when people aren't optimizing it properly.
Right. Absolutely. It's like you're dropping the ball. We know that the goal is the demo. If you're an SDR, that's where you're going to get compensated on. If you're doing full cycle sales, that's the first stage of your pipeline probably. And so if you're not getting them there with like all of the energy and lack of friction, then what's the point? Like, why are you dropping it before you get them to that first most important stage?
And we put all this effort into, putting the perfect sequence together, the right emails, the personalization, all these beautiful things. And then we haphazardly throw over a link and all the great practices that we've learned to get to this point, all of a sudden went out the window. And as we've learned, every single email, every single connection has a reason, a purpose, has effort that should be put into it. It doesn't stop at the booking link. It doesn't stop at the in-between process before they show up. So it is like, it's the thinking that that's the end and it's just the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know, when we're analyzing how many touch points it takes to book a meeting or to get that person to the meeting, to create that opportunity, which generally comes when they show up. That should be considered in that overall process, right? It's like, that is one of the important touch points that's either continuing to build the relationship or strengthen the relationship or teach them something or whatever. It shouldn't just be kind of left out and forgotten as not an important touch point.
Well, and it's really like you use the word relationship, and it really is. I think we all know at this juncture that, especially this day and age, the understanding of relationship in sales is more important than ever. The society is keen to the way and manipulations that past ways of sales has happened. And so really understanding that human to human connection and the relationship is so important. And so when we look at it in a relationship status, a relationship way, the booking, the asking about the booking and getting that process, that's really popping the question for the engagement, right? Like, it's not the marriage yet. Wedding hasn't happened. We haven't even had the, bridal, whatever. All those things have not happened. We've just got on one knee and said, what do you think? And they were like, yeah. So then what happens is during this, they're now your fiance. This is the part. Now you totally just get sloppy, you get messy, all this other stuff. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. All of a sudden someone's on their best behavior. They showed me the best of them. And now they're kind of burping in public and it's really gross. And that is not what we want to do. And I think that's the kind of lackadaisical approach that happens during this process. This is where we dive deeper. We show even more interest. We're taking care even deeper because now we're about to spend our lives together. And I know that may sound like really intense, but ultimately in a relationship, it is that same level. Each stage is a level to grow deeper and to grow closer. And that is absolutely true in sales, because when we're looking at sales, our service is an opportunity to serve someone, and they are trusting us. They are trusting us to listen, to guide them to what's best for them. And so when we're looking at that booking process, if that's all we care, like, oh, I got him, and we're just forgetting about him, that's where we're leaving them out. And guess what? You haven't been to the altar yet. So it's time to take consideration during that whole process.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, okay. Walk me through the opposite then. Let's do it properly. What do you do step by step to ensure that none of this kind of, slips through the cracks?
Yeah. Well, so you're looking at, you've gone through the process, you had the conversation, you say, hey, would this be worth a conversation? And they say, okay, let's do it. So that next process, that next email should be laid out with thought. So instead of like, great, here's my link. First of all, we want to make sure that it's really, really clear, even in the layout of the email, the visual of the email, that link is really clear, that it's bright, it's bold, that we are also reminding them in that tiny little email. We're not trying to overdo it. We're not trying to write a big paragraph, as we know. We're trying to keep it simple and get them to the point, which is to click that button and book. And again, even with that, they should be clicking a button. We should not be saying, what works for you, because that back and forth just tires everyone out. So if this day and age, you are not already using some sort of like calendar booking platform, it is time to do that. And it should not be all the time. The thing is people thrive in structure, right? People need some kind of base that gives them a yes or no. This is why a lot of salespeople are familiar with the benefit of saying, great, would you like to meet tomorrow at 10 a.m., Wednesday at 10 a.m.? As opposed to what works for you Wednesday, because I can look and go Wednesday at 10 a.m. Oh, that's not good, but 11 might work. It gives me some kind of focal point to look at. So even if you are actually still saying it, maybe there's a benefit somewhere there. You want to say that it's structured. It gives limitation, because limitation actually opens them up to seeing, oh, what would work Wednesday? The other benefit to that is, if Wednesday actually is good for you, maybe that's when you're really on your game. Maybe that's when you're in your best mindset. That's when you've set aside. Then you want to guide them, of course, towards when you're going to be in your best space to have this conversation as well. So you want to give that space. A lot of times we feel like we want to be accommodating. So we go, anything for you. And it has the opposite effect. We want to give them something to be able, and I think the power of no, Sarah. I've heard you talk about this on your show before. Is there's a power of like saying, are you not interested in this? Is this not the time that you want? And it's the same power that we're harnessing by actually getting really specific and giving them a place to go, oh, okay, let me look at Wednesday, instead of like, oh, I don't know. And the overwhelm of different types of personalities who aren't always the type who are going to know exactly what their schedule is. I'm a little crazy that way, but I am not the norm. And I've learned that. So if we are actually writing details or kind of a back and forth type, we still want to bring in the specifics. On the other side of that, ideally, you're using a booking platform for so many reasons. The automation of it, the reminding of it, all of those things that happen without your direct work. Ideally, you have lots of other conversations that you're in, so you don't want to be doing all of that manually when technology can help you. So ideally, you're using that booking platform and you are having a specific time set aside that, as I said before, that you are at your best. So that's really step one, just that alone. So if we recap that real quick, that email itself should actually be very clear and easy to read. It should be very easy to either find the link and have it clearly set to click, or a very clear specific time that they can say yes or no to, and ideally come back with something more specific than I don't know, or let me check my calendar, or anything like that. You want to move this process in as short of touch points as possible, right? So that's really what we want to get to. The other thing I do suggest in that email, if possible, is to always have a reminder, a statement about the power of your call, the reason they're getting on this call. And I know this is a little bit of a kind of side note here, but too often we are saying, cool, I'm excited to see if we're a fit. Hey, I'm excited to get on our discovery call. I'm excited for our demo. I'm excited to connect. They're not. The truth is, no one's like, oh, I hope I'm a fit. I hope I win. No one's like, oh, what will I discover? No one's excited about those things. But what I can guarantee is if you're offering a service, some clarity is going to come out of that call. You're going to be able to pinpoint whether you can help them or not. You're going to be able to pinpoint maybe where they're stuck. Whatever your service is doing or providing is going to walk away with some sort of clarity. If you're able to use that verbiage in that call, looking forward to finding out how to solve the X, looking forward to identifying your three biggest, solving your three biggest issues, whatever that is, getting specific in there in just a couple of sentences in that, here's the link, looking forward to this, is just a further reminder and confirmation of the purpose of this call. And it's not a demo. They are not looking forward to the demo. They want the solution, hopefully, that your demo is going to show them you can provide. So even that tiny little thing, and I know we're just at the first step, we're just at the first email, but those little things are so powerful to look at and figure out from that. So that's we've gotten that. So hopefully now they've clicked the button and maybe they've booked it. Now in that process, does it make sense for some questions to be asked before the call? Now, this could happen through your booking platform, if it makes sense. Now, we don't want to create too many barriers, of course. So depending on your strategy and your flow and all the things of your business, are there questions that could be asked before the call that give you more clarity, give them something of interest? One of the things that we focus on for our business is that we say, we want to be on the call ready with solutions. We don't want to spend our time in discovery. So we really appreciate you answering these couple questions. They like that. They like that you're going to come with solutions and not a bunch of questions. Yeah. So asking the questions beforehand and any way that you can do that is really, really helpful. Now that, again, that can happen to your platform, or that could happen in an email. Again, this depends on your booking to demo window, right? So you don't want to be sending them too many emails if it's a short window. If it's longer, then you could probably put that email in between, which is some other things we can talk about. Ultimately, you want to ask anything from details that you may need or clarifying what's going to make this a powerful conversation for them. Because remember, they don't care about the demo. They care about what's in it for them. And so any kind of question that's going to give you insight, give them insight, clarity, allow them to prepare, allow you to prepare, and remind them this is so we can have an effective use of our time. So that's really why we want to ask questions. It's a win-win for everyone. And that's really, when we're looking at that first step of booking, that's the main part of it. That's where we look at optimizing that first step. The next problem that we see too often, though, is that we go, great, they click the button, they're booked, they're on my calendar. Now we wait.
Yeah.
No, we don't. We don't wait. Now, we're not going to harass them, but we're not going to wait. Even if it is a next day. And I know that can be controversial for some. And again, this is going to depend on a lot of different factors, but we're talking about ideal process of optimizing. Can we all do this? Perhaps not. Can it all be scalable all the time? Perhaps not. But in perfect world, we want some communication, even in a next day. And that could be that we're just simply sending them a thing of preparation. It could be the reminder. It could be, any kind of version in between. A lot of people have a longer process. They have a lot more opportunity and also a lot more need to have that to optimize that waiting process. So we have some clients that will actually send a video and they'll say, hi, I'm Tanya. Sarah, I'm really looking forward to meeting with you on Wednesday, June 3rd at 4 p.m., very clear. We're going to go over this, and this. And if you have any questions, you can reply to this email. Again, the details will be here in the email. Another great thing about that, I know video is starting to become really popular, and I love that. But just because it's in a video, make sure you also write it in the email. Not everyone's going to watch your video. We have different types of consumers. And I don't just mean consumers of products, but consumers in terms of the way they read. We have emotional readers, logistical readers, humanistic readers, and they respond to different types of points. Some are going to watch your video. Some are going to read what you have. Some are going to skim it. Some want a photo. We can kind of hit all those factors if we have that nice video, but also have it written. If you're not a video person, that's fine. I'm not requiring that of you, but I am saying some sort of in-between process from when they're booked to when they're supposed to show up. So you want to optimize that waiting period any way that you can. Can you give them helpful information? Are there case studies that could be sent? Are there things that even if they glance at it, by the time you get on the call, they go, oh, right, I saw something like that. Just feeling like they really are part of this process and they're almost already working with you as a client, because now they feel like they're kind of in it. And it creates this idea, this feeling as if they've already said yes. This is another kind of thing that's on a side note, but a lot of times when we use the words like, well, when we look at this, we're already talking that as if we're a team. We're already kind of giving this insinuation like, we got this. It's like the couple thing again, like, well, we're having a baby, right? It's like, well, not really, but it is a sense of we, and we want that sense of we as well. But that is, that's another part that we look at trying to optimize the waiting period. So we went through the booking. Now we want to optimize that waiting period. So again, a video, it could be homework, again, depending on the process, not something that is tedious, but it could say, hey, answer these 3 things, or make sure to fill out this one thing, or watch this thing. It's about keeping them engaged and staying top of mind without, again, being annoying or overwhelming. And again, yes, it can be a simple email. So then we're looking at that. Now, the no-brainer, I think that we all are familiar with, doesn't mean we're all using them, is reminders. we need to be reminding people. Absolutely. So no matter how much we want to demand that people are organized, hey, I already sent them this. They should know it's on their calendar. Stop. It's not going to happen. If we are organized, we're going to get in and go, yeah, I know, but we're not going to be upset. And I'm saying that as a person who's extremely organized. I see it. I got the reminders. I know it. But those who aren't, they've lost the email. They accidentally deleted it. They put it in the wrong folder. They can't find it. So send the reminders, but the reminders need to have the link to your meeting. I've seen this way too often. I know these seems like simple things, guys, but there's tiny little details that make the difference. So many times I've seen it where it says, looking forward to meeting with you on Wednesday. Your stuff was sent last week. Don't care. Make sure all the info is still in there, that whatever emails they, again, have accidentally misplaced or deleted, whatever the most recent one that they can get of you has the link of how to get in touch with you. Because in the end, it's going to be your problem when they don't show up, not theirs.
Yeah.
Right? So we want to make sure that everything's just really handy, redundantly kind, and kindly redundant, just always having that in there and accessible when they are, when you're sending these reminders. So having that, I am also a big fan of the 15-minute reminder. 24 hours is great, but again, it also depends. It depends on the type of meeting. If I need if it's a meeting that is really attention intensive, perhaps there's things they need to be writing down or doing. I do about a half an hour. The reason and science kind of thought process behind this is that if they get that reminder and go, oh crud, I'm at the store or I'm somewhere, I totally forgot. 30 minutes typically gives them enough time usually to figure out a quiet place to get to and fix it before they miss it, right? If it's something where they just kind of have to show up or quickly, or again, maybe on your process, you just feel like confident in that, 15 minutes is also nice where it's not too early that they go, oh, cool, it's in an hour or two. And then the hour passes and they go, oh, I forgot. But it's also not at the moment. So 15 minutes is really nice. It's also guaranteed to be the most recent email they get from you when it's within 15 minutes. So they have that link. They didn't lose it from that morning. So yes, 24 hours are great. Whatever your rhythm is, but figure out the rhythm. I am, again, a big fan of the 15 minutes. Another one I've seen done before is actually one that says, if you want to be fun, it can be like, you're late. But usually in this case, you want to have something a little more, we're waiting for you. Hope to see you soon. And that can actually be set automatically. That comes at the time, just as that last ditch effort. Now, of course, most of us have a no-show sequence that goes out. We understand to make a call or there's an email. But again, if you have these are things that can be pre-built into your booking platform, right? So those, again, things that don't require your manual effort. So now we've made the booking process easy. It's not messy. We had a really nice email that went out. It was really easy to find. We reminded them why this call actually benefits them, what's in it for them. We have had some communication in between or given something of value. Again, that's keeping them engaged, but it's also, if we can demonstrate value between that first booking and when they show up, like ideally they're really looking forward to showing up. They're looking forward to going, this might be the answer I need. So we've done that. We've given them reminders. So what else can we do to optimize this short window here? Well, a huge part of this is actually going to come down to ourselves. And I think we leave that out a lot because we are machines. We can make it happen. We're doing this all week. We got all kinds of calls. But if we're going to have the most effective and powerful conversation, we really do need to be at our best. And just because we can show up on 3 winks and two cups of coffee doesn't mean that we're going to do it well, or we're going to do it at the absolute best that we can. And so for you to have that amazing call, for you to have that energy that you need, that doesn't matter if traffic was awful that morning or you spilled the coffee or whatever, that you can show up like beaming because you've done the work that prepares yourself mentally, physically to be there for that call. That's what you want to create, a small routine that can happen there. And so that's as simple as having a buffer do not have back-to-back calls. Do not have a call that you could be having an amazing conversation or demo with somebody and then going, oh no, we're running over and our next one's starting. Because to give an impression for your next demo is to be late to it. So really having those buffers, having them realistic, making sure you have enough time, but also having the buffer to prepare you for that next call, that you're not rushing through notes or trying to look at them while you're in the middle of the call. And you really can go, okay, what is it that this next client needs that I'm preparing? I'm looking through their notes, and I'm also going into the mindset. And without going too woo-woo, when we go back to the fact that this is relationship, the fact that sales is about serving. And if we show up needy, I need the sale, they feel that it is felt, and it's where that icky feeling of sales comes in. But when we know that, like, I have an opportunity to make sure that they have all the information they need to make the best decision, and ideally what I think so far from seeing what I've seen, we are the best decision. You come in there with a whole different sense of confidence, with understanding and ability to listen. And that's really what that relationship is about, right? It's listening to all the things that they can say to go, oh, you know what? I heard you say this, and this is how we can help with that. And so if you're scattered, rushing from one to the other, if you haven't had a chance to look at their notes, you're showing up and you're going through the motions. And quite honestly, like, you're just not, I'm going to dare say, you're just not that good. And what I mean by that is because if you can't do the work to make sure that you're at your best, then you won't be, which means you won't be that good.
Yeah.
So if you're at your best, you're at your best. And so you can create a process in this booking process that we're talking about to allow yourself the space and or create whatever that routine may be to be in that best space. And if it's a sales meditation or affirmations or just giving your space to have some water and look at their notes, whatever that is part of optimizing this entire process. And so that's really the main part. Then we can talk a little bit about, obviously having an amazing call is its own podcast. I think it's its own whole thing. But the one thing I'll say in this too is just like where the process doesn't stop when somebody says yes, it doesn't stop post-call either. And so not just the sales process, but actually even looking at how that went, like the thank you, as simple as the thank you. Of course, there's much more in the sales process that goes on, but the immediate thank you, any next steps, and then also looking at evaluating yourself, because the only way that you're going to continually get better at these calls, obviously, is to take a good look at yourself as well. So I say that's my nutshell of optimizing that booking process.
No, that's amazing. Those are some great, tips, tactics, and also the kind of theory behind it and why we need to care about achieving each of these steps and making them important, making them purposeful, making sure we put thought into them and we don't drop the ball anywhere. And then even your reminder at the end, we still don't want to drop the ball after that too. But this particular podcast focused on how to get them to show to that meeting. Yeah, that was amazing, Tanya. Thank you so much for walking us through that.
Yeah. I mean, happy to do it. We got to get out there. We got to help these people, right? That's what it is. We're serving amazing people with our fantastic products that we've done and put so much work into. So make every step count, make everything worth it, make everything do the work for you. And I think that's the other part too, is that once you kind of look at these tiny little incidental things or seemingly incidental things and they get set, they will optimize for you. They will go for you, and you will, it's just tiny little things that just take what you're doing already incredibly and just make them want to show up. And that's what we need. Right. So yeah, my pleasure.
Absolutely. If people want to learn more from you, if they want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Well, I go by Tanya MFK. It's Tanya Marie Figueres-Kreisinger. And because that is a mouthful, Tanya MFK, I am the only one in the world. So you can Google Tanya MFK. We have the website, tanya@tanyamfk.com. We have Tanya MFK on all social media channels, YouTube. So very easy to find and really happy to support, coaches, consultants, solopreneurs, and really having the confidence to do this and feeling a way that feels aligned and full of integrity. So hope to see you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tanya. And thank you to all of you for joining us for another episode of the Predictable Revenue Podcast. Please, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button on YouTube so that you can be notified each week when we have great guests joining us like Tanya to walk us through the tips, the tactics, the strategies, all those things that are going to help you sell better, generate more revenue, all the things that you care about most. So yeah, thank you. And we'll catch you next time.